Hello, my name is Daniel Schoonmaker. Once again, I am the Executive Director of Michigan Sale and Business Forum, and I'm pleased to welcome you to today's webinar. For those who are not familiar with the Sustainable Business Forum, we are a collaboration of business institutions working to promote practices, advance climate leadership, social, and the creation of a circular economy in the Great Lakes area. We host events and programs throughout the states, including this webinar series. Our Safe and Sustainable Foodware webinar series is funded by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency through the University of Illinois Chicago Institute for Environmental Science and Policy. Today's content has not been formally reviewed by the EPA. It may not reflect the views and policies of the agency. The EPA does not endorse trade names or recommend the use of commercial products mentioned in our webinar today. And as a note, because I see someone asked it, the prior sessions are available for view on our website, and we'll drop a link in the comments in a few short moments here. If you are not yet a member of the forum, you can become one today at misbf.org/join, or you can send me a note in the chat for more information today. I would like to invite those of you in Michigan to join us for our next in-person event on June 4, our Northern Michigan Food Donation Workshop. This workshop is for those involved in food rescue, recovery, distribution policy, and any food business or interested in stakeholder looking for practical, implementable solutions. Our next webinar, which is not part of this series, is Why Are Michigan's Energy Prices So High? Which will be on June 23 at 10 a.m. Our expert panel will introduce how utilities are regulated in the state, the factors that historically driven local markets, and what sustainable professionals and business leaders should know about current events. You can find more information about these events at the links in the chat or at misbf.org/events. Now I'd like to introduce our program for today. Safe and Sustainable Foodware, Engaging Staff and Customers in the Transition. For our attendees, please note you can share thoughts and questions with the panelists or all attendees in the chat function or via the Q&A function if you have a question. We should have plenty of time at the end of the presentation for open questions and answers. So I'd like to start by introducing our first speaker of today, my good friend Cassie Carroll, someone I admire quite a bit, who is the Assistant Director at the EnergySense Resilience Center, based in Illinois. Cassie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dan. It's good to be here, and I really appreciate you inviting me to come and speak. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, I'm at Cassie Carroll. I'm with the EnergySense Resilience Center, and today I'm going to be talking about our experience in the Illinois Green Business Program and the restaurants and businesses in Illinois that we're working with about transitioning to safer foodware. The EnergySense Resilience Center is an organization based at the University of Illinois System, and our mission is to empower organizations with practical solutions for climate, energy, and sustainability. Our foundation of work is primarily in energy efficiency, so energy code training, energy assessments, helping really communities do energy planning. But one of the pieces of work that we have and that my colleagues and I founded way back in the day in 2008 is the Illinois Green Business Program. So we have a program that really tries to help businesses to sustainability best practices, helping reduce business costs, increase operational efficiency, and lower environmental impact. So in Illinois here, we provide a lot of different services and support to help businesses connect to all of those great resources and initiatives that help businesses really find profitability and sustainability. How can we help them reduce operational costs so they can continue to thrive? We offer technical assessments. We have different programs to help businesses achieve recognition or certification in our program, and really with the goal of just helping businesses really integrate sustainability throughout their operations. So we're going to be talking about food businesses today. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about just why sustainability matters now for food businesses. It's a tough time in our economy right now. The cost of business is really increasing, the cost of goods. I was just at a regional network of restaurants in the west suburbs of Chicago. And they talked about how they don't want to have to change prices, but the costs of goods are increasing so much that they're going to have to increase pricing. But they really don't want to have to do that. It's a tough time. So costs of businesses are increasing. These restaurants are constantly managing turnover in their restaurants. They have limited time, really, because they're managing all of the things to keep their doors open and their business thriving. And they operate on really tight profit margins. So there isn't a lot of extra capital for investments around energy efficiency or sustainability or composting. But food businesses are really nimble, and you'll hear from a food business today that is doing a lot of these wonderful things and has found how sustainability integrates into the mission of their business. But really, sustainability for food businesses, if we can provide guidance to help prioritize meaningful opportunities that are going to help them reduce costs and increase operational efficiency, if we can provide connections to practical tools and financial incentives, and if we talk about how efficiency now can bring a lot of impact later on, not only in their own business, but in the community, it's a great way to start when you approaching food businesses about how to integrate sustainable practices into their business. And really right now, any ways that we can help businesses reduce cost, well, that's our goal in the Illinois Green Business Program. So I'm going to be talking about our project primarily, reducing PFAS exposure in Chicagoland. So similarly to the Michigan Sustainable Business Forum, we've been partnering with them and the University of Illinois Chicago on this work in the Chicagoland area to help businesses seek, identify, and use safer foodware for food packaging. So I'm going to talk about our project a little bit and share some of the insights that we've learned about helping businesses make the transition, but also how do we communicate PFAS, not only to say our employees and our staff, but how do we also communicate it to the greater community? So our project really focused on increasing the adoption of alternative single-use foodware without harmful PFAS, or those foodware or food packaging items with no or safer coating. So we worked with 31 businesses in the Chicagoland area, mostly on the west suburbs, but also the city itself, to do assessments to find out what are the different products that businesses purchase. And so we would provide no-cost foodware assessments to different food-focused businesses. So we weren't just focused actually on restaurants. We were working with nonprofits. We were working with other sorts of organizations that served food, like soup kitchens. So we were doing foodware assessments to say, what kinds of foodware are you using in your business, and how can we help you make a safer switch? Usually when we talk about single-use foodware without harmful PFAS, oftentimes it's compostable foodware as well. Sometimes the products are lined with a bio-based lining. Sometimes they just don't have any coating at all. But we were trying to find out, well, what foodware products do you have, and what are comparable safer options? After the foodware assessments, we were able to provide not only individual samples of foodware to each business that we serve, but also up to $300 to purchase PFAS-free foodware, so that businesses could test and organizations could test these products in their operations and with the food that they were serving. We made connections to PFAS-free foodware suppliers in the region. And also, while we were there, we identified other sustainability opportunities that really would be a benefit of businesses' bottom line, say connecting them to the utility incentive programs here in Illinois that help reduce energy costs, or identifying that they might need a smart thermostat or scheduling their thermostat, or even talking to businesses about composting, especially those that use disposables as their primary dishware in their dining rooms. So it was a really great opportunity to start to really understand what are the barriers to purchasing compostable PFAS-free foodware, but what are the opportunities as well. So here's a little bit of information. We did a product and cost analysis after the projects, after we did all of the assessments. And here's a couple example photos. The top photo is one of the businesses we worked with had a plastic container, and we were able to recommend a compostable PFAS-free soup container. And this is on the left here what the cost analysis looks like. So for this business, for example, I just wanted to show you this business particularly could find a cost savings by switching to PFAS-free compostable foodware in their operations. So through our product and cost analysis, we found that restaurants and food service use the most used products for the businesses we serve by were 9x9 fiber clamshells, 3-part clamshells, and 9x6 clamshells. Clamshells are a huge part of the market and what food types of foodware that businesses use. We also found that paper bowls, fiber bowls, those are a primary product category that most food businesses use, as well as portion cups. So from our foodware analysis, what we did, we took a comprehensive look at all 31 businesses and asked, what are the most commonly used products and what kinds of trends are we seeing when we're talking about PFAS-free compostable foodware? So in this analysis, we reviewed foodware pricing across 31 restaurants. We reviewed pricing for 17 foodware brands and 13 suppliers. We also reviewed 22 product types and analyzed that information. And let me just put a caveat in here. PFAS-free compostable foodware, the standard that we used to identify that foodware was BPI certification. We also worked with World Centric. They no longer use BPI as a certification, but they do their own testing for their products. And we actually had some experts, they sent us their testing data and we had some experts review that. So either BPI certified products, World Centric products, that's how we identified safer products for our businesses. But after reviewing all this foodware and different product types, we found that really the smallest cost increase per month for food businesses were hot cups, so 16 to 24 ounce hot cups to compostable paper cups, plastic and polystyrene bowls to compostable fiber lined bowls. And so that's one thing to mention is that for those bowls, they might be good for salads, they might be good for something drier food, but they're not good for hot soup or liquid items. We actually did testing of some of these 24 to 32 ounce bowls, and this is one product here, and you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but on the bottom here, some of the liquid had soaked through. So we actually did some testing of these products too. But the smallest increase per month for businesses, and it's about 1 cent per unit, is hot cups or transitioning to compostable fiber lined bowls. We also found the cost increase per unit, 8 to 16 ounce paper bowls. So switching those to compostable paper lined bowls were the most durable for businesses. So there are so many different options for compostable products, PFAS-free products that are comparable to what restaurants use right now, but these are the best in terms of cost analysis or cost, changing cost, because we really, I talked about how restaurants have and food businesses have a thin margin, right? So any ways we can help businesses increase not only the use of safer products, but do that in a way that's easy for budgets to handle is really important. So we were excited to find out from all of our businesses, these were the best types of products to recommend to other businesses that want to transition to safer foodware. And it's really, I'll go back here for a second, it's really dependent, and I will highlight this on another slide. Cost savings is really dependent on what the business purchases and the price that they purchase it at. So, but these were the trends across all of the businesses we served. So after we found those different sorts of analyzed that data, found comparable replacements from plastic or polystyrene to safer products. Then we actually requested samples, helped the business and provided them $300 to purchase higher sample volumes, and then asked if they would consider ongoing purchasing. And from our analysis, we found that 5 businesses will continue purchasing, and we have about 8 businesses that are still testing samples, which is exciting. So we'll see if any others find comparable PFAS-free products that they might be interested in purchasing. And just here's a couple of some of the most sampled foodware that were requested in this project. But really, I would encourage, this slide is to help say, test products. work with your businesses to find samples. We worked with a whole host of different suppliers for this project and this initiative. And we found that if you can communicate directly with the supplier, they can usually get samples for free. So, like one or two products for free for businesses to try. So, if you're a practitioner in this webinar today and are working with businesses, it's a great way to start exploring how do these products work? How do they work for, say, a business that has saucy foods, or say, something that's more a soup-based food, or something like French fries. What's going to hold that food the best? Work with your local suppliers, or food businesses in the audience. Work with your local suppliers to test out products and see what works best for you. And so this was a way for us to help encourage. All right, we've identified comparable products. How do they actually work in your food business? So we found that there were some that worked and some that really didn't work. And there are a lot of challenges still to PFAS-free foodware. Some of the pictures on the left here you can see. There's a lot of branding out there. So really businesses are interested in finding safer foodware options, but it can be challenging to find credible products. So again, looking for something like BPI certified products, or using a world-centric product can guarantee that your products are PFAS free. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Out of these three pictures, actually, this bottom picture is the PFAS free product. So anyways, so how do we provide tools that help businesses better identify products and use these products in their operations? Businesses do care about the look and durability of products. We had some businesses that didn't want certain compostable or PFAS-free items because they had writing or coloring on the products. So also we were really sensitive to find products that had little branding or little coloring on them, so that we could really comparably replace the current product that they use that was, say, unbranded, with something similarly that was unbranded. And out of the 26 products, we looked, actually did review 26 products actually had recommendations reduced, that they actually reduced cost for businesses. So out of all the products that we looked at, which I think was close to 96 products, 26 of them actually helped businesses reduce costs. And out of those 26 products, unfortunately, 10 were not effective for holding the desired food products. So testing is really important, along with the look of the product as well. The cost of the product can be a barrier, but cost savings are really dependent on product purchasing and volume. So again, making sure, if you're a business in this session today, partner with an organization like the Michigan Sustainable Business Forum that can help you analyze and navigate what comparable types of foodware are out there, and what could be available for your business that could either reduce costs or increase costs minimally. Because again, 14 out of the 31 businesses that received recommendations actually received recommendations that saved them money. And that was just based on similar things that they'd purchased in the past. So PLA products do cost more than fiber options, but they are another good comparable option. PLA can't really hold a lot of hot food, but it is an option. It is more cost intensive, though, is what we found. And adding composting services to make sure that your PFAS-free compostable items go into the compost rather than the trash is really important. But we understand that that can be costly. And we found some suppliers in Illinois that could provide discounts on foodware if businesses composted. So there's services here in Illinois that actually not only provide the composting services, but also offer the comparable foodware. So finding ways to, and partners and suppliers that can help reduce that potential increase of cost was really important. So one of the things and I'm going to shift a little bit into communicating the benefits of this foodware. And so when we talk to businesses, businesses really did care about the safety of their customers, the safety of their employees. And that was one of the drivers for them to participate in our foodware initiative. And so how did we communicate those benefits and how you communicate those benefits. Um, First and foremost, if you're in a business or an organization that uses food packaging, verify your current foodware is PFAS free and safe for customers. So I'm going to share some tools that we built so that you can share that with your businesses to help identify first whether the current foodware is PFAS free and safer. But first thing we do is define the problem, of course. Why should customers or employees care? And really, we took the avenue of discussing the health issue first. So, keeping our customers healthy. And I'll share some language here in a minute of what we used. Then we helped define the solution. How will customers benefit or employees benefit from using safer products? So, to get all of that information that I just talked about in our project and our results, we had to first communicate, right? What are the benefits? What are the challenges? What is the health problem? Why should restaurants care? And how will this solve these issues? Then, of course, you want to train your staff and make sure they understand what is PFAS, why was this foodware switch made, and how to address customer questions. Because customers may have questions. Oh, this product doesn't work as well, or this product is new. Why are you using a new container? So making sure that your employees, especially your counter and register folks, have the tools that they need to communicate why, and your managers too. How to address those customer questions is going to be really important to keeping that message consistent across your program. And so focusing on the health benefits and providing staff with reheating instructions is really key. Again, providing staff with reheating instructions for your customers. I'm going to say it again because there are, we really say, even in plastic, you should take your food out of a container and reheat it in some other type of washable dish. But how do we help provide staff with the tools to talk to customers about reheating instructions? Sometimes PFAS for your compostable products will disintegrate a little bit, or you should definitely not put PLA in the microwave. So how do we also help build the customer experience into this training and equip our staff with the messaging to say, hey, our products change. Please make sure that you reheat this in a different container. It's a great opportunity to not only educate your customer about PFAS and what could leach into food, but also providing them with good reheat instructions so that you keep your customers safe as well. And then using visuals that provide context and solutions. So you can promote it in restaurant, on website, in socials, all of those different places. You should use all of your marketing tools to help communicate your change. So I know we're going to share slides. Here's some language we used. We did research and looked at a lot of different documents. I'd say about 30 different PFAS documents, 30 or 40, and tried to pull out the key ways that these organizations were talking about PFAS and how they enter our food. So we talked about it as they leach harmful chemicals known as PFAS into our food and beverages, potentially causing adverse health effects for people. And we talked about the numerous health issues, environmental hazards, and trying to make it a priority. We acknowledge that PFAS is in so many things that we use, but how can we remove a little bit of PFAS from our daily life? We can't guarantee these things are completely 100% PFAS free, but how can we limit our exposure to PFAS? So this is some of the language that we used to talk about why it was important. And then we provided some solutions. How could you help? Share information, encourage folks to explore and participate how to reduce PFAS exposure and use alternative single-wear foodware, or educate others. So we provided some solutions and ways that people could participate to reduce PFAS. And then we provided on our website some links for businesses, for customers, and then we have some of our tools on our website as well as further reading. We are just we're delivering information and starting to talk about it in a simple, concise way. But there is so much more information out there. We are not the experts. So we try to point to other organizations that are doing this work that can provide more detail and more context. But we try to really make it customized, make it simple, make it something that is digestible in terms of the information that we're sharing, but also providing more information and context if folks want to dig a little bit deeper. So this is our PFAS-free product guide. So first we wanted to talk about, well, what types of products are PFAS-free? We provide this to a lot of our businesses to help them navigate materials that are used and different foodware key attributes. So is it oil resistant? Is it good for saucy meals? Is it microwavable? Or is it hot or cold food approved? And we used information from manufacturers to provide this information for businesses. So how do we help businesses find good products? Well, maybe let's talk about some of the materials first that folks can use. We also pair this with our PFAS-free foodware decision tree, and I put a Spanish example here. We've translated all of our flyers into Spanish for greater access to this information and for training purposes. So we have a PFAS-free tree. So does it meet one of these criterias? If it doesn't, if it's a world-centric product, then you're okay. But if it still is not a world-centric product, it either probably can contain PFAS or not assured PFAS-free. So this is a way for businesses to kind of say, well, what does my product manufacturer say? Is there a label that has one of these things? Or is it something that I should maybe take a look at and see if there are alternative options? We also built this flyer for tips for finding PFAS-free products for businesses. So here's some of the brands that offer PFAS-free products and how to look for the SKUs or the different sorts of certifications and look up to make sure that the products are credible. We talk about that cheaper through local composter as well, because in the Chicagoland area, there are a lot of options. There are a couple of good options along those lines. So we provide some tips to find PFAS-free products. We also are going to be launching a PFAS-free foodware guide. So based on all of our research for restaurants, we have compiled a online database of all of the products that we have found that are credibly PFAS free, so BPI certified or world centric products. So we also want to say if businesses want to explore directly the different sorts of products that are out there on the market, they can do that. This is not a comprehensive list. It's just a tool to get folks started. And here's an example. If you click one of the links at the top here at our table of contents, here's the types of information that we provide for the foodware. And we modeled this off of the California Green Business Network's San Mateo County's Foodware Aware project. So this is a really thank you to them for the model. And this is what we will have available for businesses, and any of you on the webinar are welcome to use this as well. We also tested foodware, so we're creating a video which I can share with the Michigan team to get that out to all of you. But a video based on the foodware. So for example, this product, the soup container, was one of the best products that we sampled. There was no leakage on the paper here. We held food and tested it at 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and an hour to see how long, saucy foods lasted in these containers. And while this fiber bowl here on the bottom had some leakage, that still doesn't mean it's a bad product. It just might not be good for saucy foods. So it could be good for, again, things like salads or sandwiches or whatnot, but trying to help identify so we can better provide information to the businesses we serve on products that will work in businesses and will work for different sorts of applications. So stay tuned for that video. And then finally, we provide some different educational materials for employees. So why should we care about PFAS? If you want to go PFAS free, here's some tools and ways to talk to your suppliers about that as well. So we're working on some more tools and flyers too. And then we're making table tents. How do we educate the customer? So these are table tents where somebody can scan this and learn more. They can talk about how these businesses can talk about how their foodware is PFAS free. or taking an order to go. So we're playing around with different table tent designs. But one of our businesses also shared this with their customers. So another really great way is to share it in your newsletter. So Righteous Kitchen is a meal prep service and delivery service. And they informed their customers that they switched product to 100% compostable packaging. We didn't like exactly how they talked about it. They could have done a little bit better to talk about PFAS free, but at least they talk to their customers and are educating their customers about the change in product. And their customers are actually really excited that this product was compostable. So again, sometimes we provide all of these educational materials, and we still have to help our businesses really communicate the key points, or say PFAS free or compostable plastic packaging, that's PLA. So maybe we could use PLA, but it's still a really great opportunity to promote and talk to your customers about this foodware switch. And they also are composting, which is great as well. So in summary, not all PFAS-free foodware will increase foodware costs. It's really dependent on the products that they use and the price. We want to provide tools with businesses to help them not only communicate to their customers, communicate to their suppliers, but also help them sell the benefits of these safer products to GMs and owners. And we want to talk about staff about the product change, why, the benefits, and they have to be on board too to use these new products. And that's going to be really important for them and the sustainability of this foodware use in their businesses. And also, stay tuned. I will share more resources from our project as they come out in the video and other sorts of resources, so you can use these tools that we've developed as well if they're helpful. So thank you for your time, and I bounce it back to Dan to introduce our next speaker. I look forward to our discussion later today.
Thank you so much, Cassie. I always learn so much when I have an opportunity to interact with the EnergySense Resilience Center. Uh, Now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Jennifer Santi, Marketing Communications Manager at Zingerman's Delicatessen. A company that, if you're in Michigan at least, really doesn't need much of an introduction. Uh, and we are really looking forward to hearing about how Zingerman's has put some of these ideas into practice. Jennifer,
Hi, everyone. Oh, okay, there we go. I had tested out my slides and then they went missing, but now they're back.
here we are.
Okay, here we are. Thanks so much for having me today. I am the marketing and communications manager at Zingerman's Delicatessen, and I've done a lot of talking to groups of people in person. This is my very first time presenting to by myself in a room to a screen, so I hope that everything goes great. So far, so good. So if you're not familiar with our business, Zingerman's Deli is located in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and we opened in 1982. Our business has a fast casual restaurant where we serve really delicious sandwiches and soups and salads and desserts. And we also have a specialty foods grocery store. We have a coffee and dessert cafe, and we have a catering department that does both on-site catering at a venue we operate across downtown Ann Arbor, and we do off-site catering across the region. This year, we are forecasting to be about $17 million in sales, just to give you a sense of the size of the volume of our business. And we have about 200 staff across these various sales and support departments. We are also the original business in the Zingerman's community of businesses. So today, the Zingerman's community of businesses represents 11 different independently owned and operated businesses who work collaboratively and share a mission and values. And that's going to become important when we kind of jump into what we're talking about today, which is so communicating to staff and to customers around this change in our foodware. I have two different projects to talk to you about today, but before we jump into those projects, I'm going to highlight some of the systems and the recipes, as we call them, that we have in our wheelhouse here at Zingerman's that really set us up for success when we're doing a change of really anything. So we follow these principles and we follow these sort of recipes for change across any kind of topic that we might be working on. So whether it's a change in sustainable foodware, or if it's a change to an HR policy or to the type of cheese that we're selling, we're going to sort of dig into our underlying values and recipes for how we do that. And we've been doing this now for 44 years. So we have a set of guiding principles across all of our Zingerman's businesses. And I put up here on the top of the slide, if you go to zingermanscommunity.com, which is our community website, you will find a tab and it will say mission and guiding principles, and you will find so much more written about all of these. But to call out a couple of things that sort of set us up for success in terms of training our staff and engaging our customers in these changes. Some of the things that we say here are within these guiding principles are we really believe that our policies and systems help our business run better. We like to involve as many people as possible in the running of our business. We also believe that each of us is committed to being proactive in our work. And you'll see that one of our guiding principles is strong relationships. So we really rely on our relationships with our vendors and within our community in order to have any kind of business success. So you'll see that when we do a rollout of a change, and we'll talk about some of those relationships that we relied on in our community to do the changes in the sustainable foodware. And we also are a place to learn. So we educate our guests, our staff, ourselves about the food we sell, about the products that we use, including different foodware products. And we actively educate our staff about the workings of our business. We'll talk a little bit about how we do that in our staff meetings, which we call huddles. And we participate in improving the life in our community. That's a really important thing to us. And it's a value that leads us to be able to make these changes within our business, even when they might take more work, more time, and cost us more. And then you'll see on the bottom here, number 9 is committed to improving our impact. So this is the newest guiding principle. It was added about a year ago. The other 8 had been part of our business culture for decades, but it was important to us that we acknowledge this commitment to improving our impact to our planet. And so we have a team of people that work across our businesses. They're called Planet Zingermans, and they were able to bring this new guiding principle to the organization, and the 22 or 23 managing partners of our 11 different businesses were able to adopt this and officially add it to our guiding principle. So we believe that a business is a way to do good in the world. We leave everyone and everything we interact with better when we first come into contact with it. So that's staff, customers, community, vendors, or the environment. And these are just some of the language that we use when we're sharing this particular guiding principle. We believe that being mindful of our environmental impact and taking proactive steps to improve it isn't solely a moral obligation, but it's better business. And we know that improving our impact may cost more. We also embody lean principles that allow us to continuously improve our services and reduce our waste. So having this built into the values of our business really makes a change when we're looking at our foodware. We have a starting place to live with in terms of not only making the change, but how we're going to move through our organization and share it with the staff and with our customers. So I also want to talk, before we jump into the project examples, about systems that we have in place to support staff training, because we can't really make any effective change unless we're going to train our staff. We have 200 in our business across our whole Zingerman's community of businesses. We have almost 700, 800 staff people. And this is where it really begins when we make a change and we're going to focus on, sustainability. We need for our staff to understand why we're doing it, and so that they can really communicate it with the customers that walk in the door and that want to learn more about it. And we do that a couple of different ways. So we have actually a trademarked type of training called bottom line change. You can read about it in this pamphlet that was written by our co-founder, Ari Weinsweig. You can take I'll talk a little bit in a minute about Zingtrain, which is our partner business that does training for other businesses. But bottom line change is essentially a recipe for how you make a change. It is a process that guides you or a group of people in your business through thinking about why you want to make that change. You write a vision for success, you identify key stakeholders, and you get their input before the change is made. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some examples when we get into the project examples. We also have a tool that we use across all of our Zingerman's businesses of training passports. So training is really, really important to us. We think we need to make sure that everybody in our business understands what is expected of them when they show up to work. And you can see here, there's a training vision statement and a training compact. And we enter into these training compacts at a shift level, at a topical level, and a class level. And we believe that we're in this training relationship with our staff 100%, 100%. So it's not just that we're trying to communicate something to the staff person. We're asking the staff, the trainee, to take full responsibility for their training. So that means asking questions, following up, like seeking out resources. And then also as the trainer, managers, people who are rolling out a change, shift leaders, they're also documenting clear performance expectations, giving resources, and recognizing and rewarding performance. We do all of this through training passports. And I'm going to show you an example later on around how we've built some of this education into a training passport. But essentially, every staff person gets a training passport when they start working in any business across Zingerman's. It has customized for your business, for your position. There's some common things we train everyone on, and then there's some specific things to your job function. And people move through these training passports as they move through training. And this is an opportunity for how people receive wage increases and can obtain higher skills in their various departments. And we also have a part of our organizational structure that's called huddling. We practice open book management, which means that we involve all of our staff in the running of our business. And we call these weekly meetings we have with our staff huddles. We have them weekly within departments. Sometimes if it's a smaller business, it might be the whole business that's huddling. We also sort of level up our huddle. So we might have a huddle that's for like the restaurant department in our business. They meet weekly. And then as a whole business, as a whole Delicatessen, we have all staff huddles that might happen maybe 6 times a year. We also have Zingerman's wide huddles that happen once or twice a month. So we're constantly sharing, have opportunities for sharing with our staff the projects and the information and the measures of success and the goals for all of what we're doing. And this is just a constant form of communicating around what's important, why are we focused on it, and how are we doing. So if you're curious, if you're a business or an individual that is curious about learning more about these systems that we have to support our staff, I encourage you to check out Zingtrain. So their website is right here, zingtrain.com. And I told them that I was giving this webinar today, and they offered everybody here a 50% off code for this transformational training tools seminar they're hosting on May 18th and 19th. So if you use Spring 50 to sign up, this is a 2-day seminar in their offices in Ann Arbor. It's super valuable. If you're not able to access this particular training, I really encourage you to go to their website, sign up for their email newsletter. They have lots of great resources on their website around systems to support staff training, around bottom line change, around huddling, open book management. We teach all this stuff to ourselves internally, and Zingtrain teaches it to the rest of the world. So it's a super great resource. Much like staff training, our marketing, so that's the staff side of it. There's also the customer guest, we call it guest side of it, customer communication. We also have recipes and kind of consistent ways that we communicate to our customers. And we really sort of root our marketing in what we call our look and feel. This is sort of like a set of core principles in how we promote and market to our guests. This has been around, this official guide to look and feel has been around for a very long time. And it says things about the way in which we are presenting ourselves to the outside world. So it says things like, we want to be fun. It says we want to be engaging. We really want to tell the story of the products that we sell and the people who make them. And that means that we also want to be engaging around the stories that we share with our customers about other things that we're doing. Why are we focused on sustainability? What's the story behind it, and how did we get from point A to point B? We also, one of our principles here in the look and feel is that we need to be informative. So we share information around our product, how you use it, who made it, why did we buy it? And we also do that same information sharing with things like foodware. Other things that you're going to see, I've got examples of some of our marketing tools, but we also, as part of our look and feel, if you've ever been to our business, you'll understand. We like to be colorful. We like to be bold. We like our communications to be down to earth. And that's really important when we're talking about customer communications, because it also sort of this down to earth, high energy, action oriented, this idea of being fun, it translates through all of the ways in which we're communicating to our customer base about anything that we're selling or doing. And then we like to build on the Zingerman's name. So that means we're going to focus on being a community of businesses. It's going to mean that we want to represent ourselves in the outside world, and make sure that we're talking up what's important to us, but also that we're presenting ourselves in a good way. So let's jump into the couple of example projects that we are going to talk about today. And I'm going to show you examples of both this training and the customer communication. So the first project I want to talk about is a returnable container pilot. So this project started in real time for us in 2021, although our managing partner, Roger Bowser, had been researching and thinking about something like this in the deli for a lot longer than that. We partnered with the city of Ann Arbor on a pilot project we called A2R3. You'll see that on the stickers there. It's the Ann Arbor Reduce, Reuse, Return pilot project, and it was part of the city of Ann Arbor's A20. A20 is a millage that we have in Ann Arbor that focuses on getting the city to zero everything. So we have resources in our community to focus on sustainability. This project started with the city of Ann Arbor and a couple of different like-minded restaurants, and it eventually pulled in different nonprofits, zerowaste.org, and an organization called Perpetual. What we learned in this, I'm going to show you examples of how we communicated, but the short version of this story is that we still don't have a returnable container program in our city that is at scale. We learned early on, we thought maybe naively that we could do this if we just had a couple of businesses that were interested in it, we could kind of pull it off. But what we figured out is that in order for it to really be successful, it needs to be citywide. And we're still working on how does that work, and more specifically, how do we fund a program like that? The second project I want to talk about is a project we've also been working on for decades, prioritizing reuse and composting. We've been doing this back of house, again, for decades. It roots itself in the decisions we make about purchasing products, purchasing disposables. How do we receive products? How do we rotate products through our walk-ins? Careful handling of food. What happens at the end of if we end up with food waste, are we repurposing it to a food bank? So we've got all of these things that are really integral to happen that relate to reuse and composting before we even put any food or products in front of the guest. But we've gotten really good at that, and it's time now for us to shift to front of house action. We had a service style that was more reusable before COVID, and then COVID pandemic shifted the way in which we were presenting food to people. We packaged it up a lot, keep things safe, to deliver it to customers. That sort of caused a disruption in the amount of reusable foodware that we were using, and sort of the way we were our production was was packaging food and delivering it to the guest. And so now we've sort of had to back up and reshift our focus to shifting back to reusables. And now we're shifting to a big front of house composting project. We've had to look at all of the different packaging options, like Cassie was talking about. We did a lot of that research. We relied on some of our partners in the community to help us find things that were PFAS free and compostable. It also it took us quite a while. This sheet you see here that the sandwich is sitting on is one of our biggest disposable purchases. It's also one of our more important marketing pieces that we have, this like very iconic deli sheet of paper that we serve our sandwiches on. And we discovered when we were thinking about shifting to front of house customer facing composting, we realized that this sheet had PFAS in it, and it couldn't be composted, and we didn't really want to have a PFAS product any longer. And it took us a while to find a company, which turned out to be one that we had worked with for years, but we didn't know they made this particular product, to get the PFAS out of the product so that we could then move forward with all of these changes. So once we did a bunch of changing of the foodware that we were using and the packaging, in 2025, we applied to our county for a waste reduction sponsorship, and it allowed us to purchase new waste collection bins, and we'll be rolling them out into our dining areas this week. So we'll be collecting compost for the first time in our guest areas. So let's look a little bit. This remaining part of my presentation is faster than what I've been talking about before, because now I'm going to give you examples. So this returnable container pilot, here's some pictures that we used. How did we train our staff? So here's an example here of what a BLC, or bottom line change document, looks like. It starts with compelling reasons for the change. It follows with a vision for success. It's a narrative. It doesn't have to be real time. This is not about the how, it's about the what do we want it to look like when we're done. And then there's other parts of this BLC, like who needs to know and how do you tell them. And we have plenty of examples in the bottom line change pamphlet or the class that you might take through Zing. We also rely heavily on email to communicate with our staff. That's my job as the communications manager. So I send a lot of emails to our staff. Sometimes they get printed and hung up in staff areas, but it's one way we know, a reliable way that we can share all this information with our staff. We link documents, and we overly lavishly communicate to our staff. There's also, I send out a weekly campaign update. These are the kind of like marketing campaigns we're working on. And so I like to highlight on here some of the projects that we're working in, and that we can tell people what the announcements are about those projects. And then customer communications, we've got signage, we've got painted posters, we've got website things. We rely heavily on email marketing, and that's like our fun, engaging email with pretty clear call to actions. We focus heavily on photography and also on illustrations. These are about community events, so meet the community where they're at and talk to your customers where they are. And then this is an example of a flyer. We're also, I know we're running short on time here, but I'm just going to flip through these really quick here. Press is really important, and we're pretty lucky to be engaged in our community, both with the University of Michigan, who does research on us oftentimes, and then the media, which likes to talk about a lot of that stuff. So press is a great way of getting the word out about what's happening in your business. Those are examples of social media. And then just real quick on the compost project, this is the very end here because we haven't put it out in front of the guests yet, but it's happening this week. So we relied on staff communications. So we had a vision. And then here's a game we played with our staff to train them on what goes into which bin. We had a trial bin set out so that they could practice putting things in there, and we did some checking to make sure they were correct. And this is the example of the passport I talked about. So we've got that training in the passport. So all new staff will have to play that game and read the information about the project before they can move on in their training. These are some examples of signage and another community activity we participated in is with the county. They're celebrating International Compost Awareness Week. So we attended some of their events to celebrate our project with them. And that's the end. There's my email if you have other questions, because I know we're kind of short on time here. Thank you.
That was wonderful, Jennifer. Thank you so thank you so much. Uh, Before we get underway and respond, there's having a number of questions in the chat, but I do have one question for both of you. That's something that's come up a number of times over the past month. Uh, Now we're using especially certified compostable products. Uh, how should the customers be uh, thinking about them when, as far as their waste streams, because the availability of commercial commercial composting is limited, even in a community like Ann Arbor, which is best of class. Uh, it'd be my understanding that, regardless of whether or not you can easily compost these, there are still, including PFAS reduction, many benefits to adopting the material instead of traditional uh, takeout foodware.
I can answer that a little bit. It's been some
Yeah.
tricky messaging for us.
Okay.
Um, we engaged in the switch to compostable. A lot of them are PLA based compostables for that reason that Cassie talked about. Like we've got some saucy foods that don't fit well into the plant based materials. And after we worked years on changing these products out, the city of Ann Arbor changed what could go into the home compost bins. Right. So now we're stuck with these PLAs that can't go into the residence compost bin. So what we've decided at our place of business, we've found a compost hauler that can take it to a different facility so that we can still use those internally. We're stuck with the choice of like, at this particular moment in time, we could go back to plastic or we could stick with these not preferred PLAs and put them in a compost and take them to a facility. So our messaging gets a little tricky around that. But what we've decided is we're just going to encourage people. They can bring them to us. We will take care of it for them and they can put it in our waste stream, especially now that we're putting that out in front of the guests. They could just put it in our compost and go. But it is tricky because there's so many rules around what can go. You can't put these in your home compost pile. And that's where we rely on a network of different partners like the city and the county who's educating people around composting and all of the various ways in which you can do it.
And for us, Jennifer, that was awesome. I mean, I think that that's such an important position to take as a business to say, hey, come bring, if you're concerned and you can't compost it, come bring it to us. I love that. And that builds that community. But in our project, we part of what we're doing is we're just starting to actually in June, we're going to be starting to roll out the project, the signage, a lot of these things. So this is a great opportunity to talk about some of the work we've done. But I think through our what we're trying to do through a lot of our messaging and what we're going to be adding to our communications is places around the Chicagoland area for compost. So the city of Chicago just launched composting sites at some libraries in the city. Village of Oak Park has curbside composting. There are composting drop-offs in different counties. So we really want to educate the consumer too about if you do want to compost this, where can you compost it? But we are also talking to our restaurants about and our food businesses about using fiber-based PLA products or fiber-based over PLA products so that even if it does go into the landfill, it's at least not going to it's going to degrade better than a PLA container would. So it is tricky. I've had a lot of folks in Illinois, of course, talk about it's kind of the chicken and the egg. Is composting available? Why should we be promoting compostable things when packaging, when composting isn't readily available all over the Chicagoland area? But there are options that are growing if people do want to compost, and there are drop-off locations. So that's what we're promoting is who are the companies you can partner with, where are the places you can drop off compost to make sure that these products do go to the places that they should be going.
And I think we're at time today, and so there were a number of questions in the chat about LCAs that I think we answered in the chat to a certain extent here, but we'll get some additional information out there. For everyone's attending, we will be sending out the slides and additional resource materials in a follow-up email within the next few days here. I want to encourage you to take advantage of both the Zing Train opportunity coming up in May. Keep an eye out for that discount. And if buy as many Zingerman products as you're able to do so. And also, uh, please, please keep an eye out for new things coming from EnergySense and the and Illinois Green Business as well. Thank you again, Cassie. Thank you so much, Jennifer, and thank you everyone for being here today. I've learned quite a bit myself.
Thank you for having me. Take care,
Thank you
everybody.
so much. Bye.